Welcome to this explainer. Allahu Akbar, bondhu. You have assembled the complete operational schematic of the DCU's highest transition. Today, we are exploring a truly fascinating and rigorous framework based on the dual caustic universe. What we're looking at here is not just abstract philosophy. It's a precise, actionable, cosmic schematic for spiritual evolution. We're going to map the exact trajectory of the human soul, how it evolves from a fragmented, unaware state all the way back to perfect alignment with its ultimate source.
Okay, let's dive into this. We've got a clear 5-step operational schematic ahead of us today. 1. The anchor of absolute consciousness. 2. The triad of receptivity. 3. The catalyst, which is the law of sacrifice. 4. The emergence of wisdom and patience. And finally, 5. The master transformation.
Step 1. The anchor. Absolute consciousness.
The entire system begins and ends right here, at chapter 112, verses 1 through 4 of the Quran. We're talking about the ahad, the one, and the samad, the absolute or eternal refuge. In the DCU framework, this is what we call the pure I-9 singularity. It is absolute consciousness in its most unified, unbroken state, existing entirely before any differentiation or scattering into the physical world.
Now, this brings us to a really massive structural challenge. On one side, we've got the D10 earthly matrix. That's us. It's the fragmented, measurable, biological human coordinate we inhabit every single day. On the flip side, you have the I-9 absolute consciousness, this pure, uncreated, infinite reality. So the central question of this entire schematic is this: how on earth do we build a bridge between our earthly D10 matrix and that uncreated I-9 reality without being completely annihilated by the sheer absolute voltage of that origin?
Step 2. The triad of receptivity. Love, faith, and intellect.
To safely interface with that absolute reality, the human node, that's you and me, requires 3 very specific operators. First up is love, mapped to verse 66:11. This is Asia's prayer. Trapped in the absolute deepest tyranny of Pharaoh, she asks only for a house near her Lord in paradise. This is pure love that completely overrides its earthly D10 environment. It's the raw energy pulling the soul back to the origin. Next is faith, mapped to Maryam in 66:12. She guarded her chastity and internally hosted the truth without demanding external, physical proof. And finally, we need reason, or akal, mapped to verse 10:100. This is our essential diagnostic tool. Because here's the thing, possessing love and faith isn't quite enough on its own. Without intellect, those incredibly powerful emotions can be easily hijacked by tagut, or false authority, turning into blind zealotry. The sources make it clear that a cognitive fog, a spiritual static known as raj, is placed on those who don't use their reason. Reason is what dismantles the illusions. It guarantees our energy is pointing directly at the true source, rather than getting distracted by a golden calf.
Step 3. The catalyst. The law of sacrifice.
Having love, faith, and intellect is great preparation, but sacrifice is the actual phase transition. It's the catalyst. Verse 392 declares this absolute conservation law of the soul. You will never attain righteousness until you spend from that which you love. You literally have to trade your D10 attachments, the worldly things you love for biological survival, to acquire eternal I-9 spiritual capital. It is the ultimate cosmic trade, and frankly, an infinitely better return on investment than anything in the earthly market. And this readiness to sacrifice has to be absolute, extending even to your own life. We see this vividly in verse 530 with Habil, or Abel. Faced with his brother's violence, Habil basically says, "If you raise your hand to kill me, I will not raise my hand to kill you." This is the absolute pinnacle of non-resistance. He trades his own physical survival to ensure he doesn't become a zalim, a wrongdoer. It's the ultimate proof that the individual values the absolute origin far more than their own temporary biological coordinate. Step 4. The emergence, wisdom and patience. When faith, love, and reason successfully pass through that intense crucible of sacrifice, the output is wisdom, or hikmah. Verse 2269 confirms this, stating, "Whoever is given wisdom has certainly been giving abundant good." But in this framework, wisdom isn't just accumulating facts or data. It's an incredible, heartened capacity to hold the paradox of the universe. It means you can literally stand in the fire of the earthly matrix while receiving the divine light, without collapsing under the pressure.
And whoever attains this wisdom must adopt patience, perfectly modeled in verse 1246. Think about Yusuf's interpretation of the dream. 7 fat cows consumed by 7 lean cows, and the dry and green ears of corn.
This brilliantly maps the temporal axis of our world. It shows that initial energy is consumed, trials and drought follow, but eventually the green ears of wisdom bloom. It proves the divine algorithm just takes time to execute. Because that algorithm takes time, patience, or sabr, is absolutely crucial. It isn't just passive waiting around. It is a highly active structural shock absorber. It holds your entire spiritual architecture completely intact during the drought, ensuring you don't break down before those green ears of wisdom finally get a chance to bloom.
Step 5. The master transformation, the final circuit.
With wisdom and patience secured, the final circuit completes in a very precise causal sequence. First is the grip, mapped to verse 19:12. O Yahya, take the book with strength. This firm grip is the activation switch, turning latent knowledge into executable action. This directly transforms into the inheritance in verse 21:105, where the righteous inherit the earth. Because they've been purified by sacrifice, they don't conquer the realm with ego, they steward it, which triggers the ultimate transformation.
Step 3, the slave of Allah, established in verse 17:1. This is the absolute highest operational state. The reader who inherits the earth doesn't sit on a throne of pride. Instead, they become the abd, the purified slave and steward who is carried on the night journey. It represents our fragmented earthly node, evolving completely, finding perfect, unbroken alignment with the absolute consciousness of the 112 origin we started with.
We've just mapped the exact trajectory from the absolute origin to the ultimate return. By linking the requirements of faith, love, and intellect to the necessity of sacrifice, you've seen exactly how we evolve into that perfectly purified state. The machinery is flawless, but it requires an operator. So the only question left for you is, are you ready to sacrifice your illusions and activate this circuit of return in your own life? Thank you so much for exploring this framework with us.